All right, so when someone says, let's kill all the, you know what the next line is. You know the group that's about to be mentioned. It's not, let's kill all the engineers, or let's kill all the car salesmen, or even let's kill all the criminals. The clarion call is, let's kill all the lawyers. One slice of society that is easy to be against is lawyers. Hopefully you like your lawyer. If you've ever had a case in court, you probably hate the opposing lawyer. But the full quote is from Dick the Butcher in Shakespeare's Henry VI, Part 2. Another character is plotting to overthrow the king to become king himself. And this would-be monarch envisions his glory. Quote, "There shall be no money. All shall eat and drink on my score, and I will apparel them all in one livery, that they may worship me their lord." His henchman, that's the would-be king, his henchman, Dick the Butcher, quickly suggests the best path to successful rebellion. Quote, "The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers." That's where that comes from. In law school, we're taught that 1,000 times when we get to law school. But I think we're taught that because we didn't know that beforehand. Most people didn't know that let's kill all the lawyers is if you want to overthrow society, if you don't like laws and structure and order, the first thing you got to do is kill all the lawyers, because then you can be successful doing everything else. So lawyers have certainly not always been on the good side of history, or even on the good side of an individual case. But good lawyers are essential to prevent injustice. And the rule of law depends on the zealous and vigorous advocacy of diligent attorneys. One such attorney is James Tim Shearin, who practices in a large law firm in Bridgeport. Tim regularly appears on the short lists of the very top attorneys in the state of Connecticut, and he served with distinction as the 2024-2025 immediate past president of the Connecticut Bar Association. So please welcome to Justice Southbury attorney Tim Shearin.
Not as tall as Rick. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Rick asked me to do this a couple of months ago, and I didn't feel like I could because as president of the Bar Association, I needed to walk a middle road. But most of my term was spent talking about the rule of law and the attacks on our court system. And I didn't know that was going to be the feature of my term when I started, but obviously circumstances dictated that it should. And so I wrote several articles, I spoke frequently on the subject, and I always walked that fine line. I don't have to walk that fine line anymore. I'm done being president. I want to talk to you about the rule of law and really what it does in terms of establishing our values as a society. And I want to do that by telling you a story. The story takes place in 1838. At the time, we were a young nation struggling to figure out what was right and wrong. And there were celebrated incidents where there were lots of wrong that some people thought were right. In Mississippi, they would hang gamblers. Gamblers were viewed as people who took from society and gave nothing back. Think of them today as what some would call illegal immigrants. They hung black men, free black men, indiscriminately. They targeted them. We don't hang them anymore, but they're still targeted. In Ohio, there was a mulatto man who was accused but not convicted of killing a white man. He was taken out and burned by a mob of white people. We don't burn people anymore. We send them to foreign prisons. Things haven't changed all that much, but we have. In 1838, there was a speaker who addressed what he saw as these departures from the rule of law, and he called it an ill omen for society. What he said was, we have now a mobcratic approach to the rule of law. What the mob dictates is what is right. And he called that a scary, dangerous, and unfortunate precedent that would eventually lead to the dismantling of our nation. So he stepped out and made a clarion call himself. And his clarion call was to remember what the rule of law was all about. And what he said was the rule of law was established to ensure the fundamental blessings that were bestowed upon this nation by our forefathers, by those who fought in the Revolution. And remember, this is 1838, so we are just a generation away from when those people who fought in the Revolution have now died. Their memories were still there, but they were fading. And he urged everybody to remember what it was that they fought for, those fundamental blessings, what he called civil liberty, religious freedom, political freedom, equality for all. Those were his fundamental blessings. And he urged everyone to work and observe the rule of law, because it was the rule of law that guaranteed those protections. And what he said is, this, I want to quote this and get it right, the observance of the law must be our political religion. It was the only way to protect against despotism. He feared that left unchecked, the mobcratic spirit would destroy us. It would give birth, listen to this, it would give birth to men of ambition who will seek gratification of their own ruling passion. The man who spoke those words was Abraham Lincoln. He was 28 years old. For Lincoln, adherence to the observance of the rule of law was the only way to protect our fundamental freedoms, our values. Now, our laws have not always been fair or just. For the first half of the 20th century, we believed that separating the races was okay as long as we theoretically gave people the same privileges. In World War II, we interned people of Japanese descent, even though they were American citizens. And many would say today that our laws have abandoned those people who need our support the most. But as bad as it's been sometimes, we've always persevered. We've always corrected our mistake. It's taken time, but we've corrected them. And I believe we'll correct them again. And we'll do so by what Lincoln called reason, cold, calculated reason. And by our own passion, by your voices. Voices that speak of those values, of those fundamental blessings. That is why what you do is so important, why standing in this green is so important, why those signs are so important, because they remind people that liberty, justice, and equality are our fundamental values that undergird us as a society. And one more famous person said it best, love thy neighbor as thyself. So I applaud you. I thank you for standing here for 273 Sundays. In the words of the song written by Peter Seeger in the early 1940s, which was banned, by the way, for 15 years because people like you were communists. But anyway, until it was made famous by Peter, Paul, and Mary in the 1960s. Thank you for being the hammer of justice. Thank you for being the bell of freedom. Thank you for singing the song of love, our brothers and sisters. Thank you very much.